They wrap up this circuit. So anything can happen this weekend. I think you're going to be incredibly busy this season up and down this pit lane because we have a lot of battles to look forward to in 2025. Yes, some magnificent submods, just one of many you tried to survive, thank you, in Formula One, and that is true up and down the pit lane. Okay, we've got about 25 minutes to go, Julian. A big qualifying session of the season. More build up in a couple of moments. "96 years. A legacy of passion. A story for eternity. Ready for the next chapter? Welcome to L'Amiga. L'Amiga, my Bumpy in sports." Then it goes back to Formula One in 2025, and our championship begins here in Australia. Welcome to Melbourne. Chocolate boss isn't finished. It's not a double party. Cheers, ladies. In straighting rumpen. I love died. When yes, 20 years old, Prix. It's low. Oh. pretty tricky to be on the right comes up very, very quickly, so you gotta be pretty careful. And those straights, probably a good overtaking spot into turn 3. You always feel like you're gonna the wall or the left, and gear down to 3rd, get back to the right for turn 5th, a pretty quick left hander. You don't know whether to brake, not brake, how much to lift. It's just a bit of an awkward corner, and a very quick corner, turn 5. A couple of years ago, that moves the wall closer. It now feels like a pretty scary corner through there. Turn 6, very difficult, which the sun and the trees, especially because there's a lot of shadows. Turn 6 is a very quick corner, a lot of camber in the middle of turn 6. This is the hardest part to trim because it's straight and flat out for us, but it's not really straight. It's approaching one of the quickest corners of the year. A very quick chicane. Very difficult to get your braking right here again. And then on the weed, it's just extremely bad. You got to be super precise through there because the curbs are pretty nasty, and the exit curb will destroy the bottom of your car. By right kidding, I don't know what border number we're at anymore, but it's a tight right hander, probably one of the better overtake opportunities. Right hander there. And you know the right hander that you, it was flat out. And you've got to get back to the right quickly. Just after braking for the second to last corner. A tight left-hand hairpin. Tires are normally on fire by this point. I mean, my eyes are shut still, but my proportions are kill out of whack. So I'm going to try and get back to the straight somewhat. Like that. My alignment on the straight, I'm happy with that. That should come down to like here. And then you just move everything down quite a lot. That's me what it should look like. First. Yes, that's him with his eyes shut. He's pretty good with his eyes open as well. Let's go to the skypad, courtesy with Martin. Yes, he is the easy expectations of grandstairs hold needle fastest in the final 3 practice session. Let's take a look at this wonderful track, Martin. First corner, super quick these days. Look, your racetrack, arrive and drive to this first chicane. Get the first bar in the middle right. You can floor the throttle and head down to the very difficult turn 3. I just got to slow down because there's a couple of bumps. You see Oscar's head popping around. And we've seen other drivers struggling with lockouts and under rotations. But the McLaren that's very compliant and the Miller's going again nicely. Yeah, the right corners is better there than anything else in the McLaren. That's helping them be more consistent. And then turn 5, absolutely flat out as you then go under the bridge and the canopy of the trees. And 6 has changed in the dynamics of using this corner. That's right. So I'll close it just when we get to the outside here, just to show people at home. So that gravity trap has been brought inwards last tour. It sort of ran along there, which gave the drivers a bit more width. So throughout qualifying, I expect, as we saw free practice, drivers dipping their wheel into the gravel, and that will compromise their run all the way up the straight. So you have to hesitate on the throttle so that they get too far into that, and it kicks a load of gravel onto the racing line as well. So this part of the track is quite wind affected. If the wind picks up as it did yesterday afternoon. Yesterday we had a headwind into turn 9, which was favorable for the driver, but it's still big down here. And this is the critical point, Karim. That tiny curve there, there's really not much contrast in color. And you can see the driver's eye looking through all of this furniture and the wheel of the car. That's difficult to spot at the speeds they're carrying, the lateral G-forces going on. But you've got to be there because that opens up the critical and highly loaded second part of 9 and 10. Yeah, 5.1 G through the apex. I'm just going to pause it because you can see there's so much load going through the cars. So they're being pressured in the road there. Just see that patch of tarmac where the cars bottom out. And we saw a caught on impairment on me. He's slightly offline yesterday. And if you're not there, you're going so fast, it's too late to do anything about it. You're going to run wide. Exactly that. And that outside curve is pretty vicious. So then we saw bits of car flying off. The final sector lap, this is where the tires are pretty cooked, especially these high temperatures. Watch Oscar here. I thought the McLaren again, really responding well. Beautiful use of the track there, judged to perfections. But this next right-hander, Martin, this is where the rear tires struggle on that. Yeah, they're beginning to slide in the back by the end of the final 3 quarters of the lap. But there's a really slow, tricky little left-hander coming on there, the penultimate corner. You stop in there. you must touch that apex. And you spend so much more time in the snow corner, of course, that you lose more proportionally. But again, if you get that right, you don't run too far out there. It opens up the final corner, which is very fast in the because the cars, they're going to open that up. They're going to bring the car back. And if you go too deep, and we saw drivers yesterday locking up, running a bit too deep, and then not able to bring it back. Oscar on this particular lap, brilliant. Really well positioning there with the car. And the challenge, looking into his shape, he was quickest, but Lando was on an even quicker lap. They go sell the favorites today. Right, thank you very much, Martin. Thank you, career. Okay, wakey, everybody. The track awaits the wonderful Albert Park circuit. And first garage in the pit lane, with all the expectation of being favourite going into the season, is Lando Norris. Look, a bit of polish on the engine cover, just positioning the nose on, and they seem confident, even though it was not quickest in practice. Third practice, Lando couldn't finish his lap, and actually finished 6/10 a second, which is an age in this year's Formula One of his teammate Oscar Piastri. And wouldn't that be an amazing result? Oscar made it to a 1:15.9, the only guy more or less in the 15s. And that's going to be a time that's been for sure in qualifying today. Wouldn't it be incredible if Oscar Piastri was on pole position? But look at this guy. Yes, it is true. Lewis Hamilton in a Ferrari. And would it be Giancarlo de Martello, the old hammer time? Or will it be, oh, mamma mia, that has not come on quite as well as we thought it was going to be, because Leclerc was actually the quicker Ferrari, 2/10 off Piastri's fastest time in pre-practice 3. Lewis Hamilton a further 2/10 behind Charles Leclerc, 4/10 of the quickest going into this qualifying session. So, look at that mechanic underneath the Ferrari. With a poor suspension. You have to be that. You have to do that. The mechanics down underneath the car, and that's one thing the Ferrari have changed this year. They've completely changed. I love the way it just pops up like that. They've just completely changed their front suspension layout. That means they're still learning about the car, and Lewis Hamilton is still learning about how to get the best from his Ferrari. Right, Liam Lawson didn't do any running, more or less only 2 laps in free practice 3. He'll do well to get out of Q1, but Max Verstappen has finally found a setup that he likes on this car. Noses, new noses, old flaws, new noses, old new flaws. You name it, they've changed it. And it looks like they've come with something that you get challenging for pole position. Challenging for pole position, maybe not as confident or as comfortable as the Ferraris, the McLarens, and the Mercedes. George Russell was absolutely mustard earlier on. P2 for Russell. P5 for Kimi Antonelli next door. That is Antonelli's car that you're looking at on the Lewis Hamilton side of the garage, but he's here to make a name for himself. But Russell fancies pole today. This is a decent car for Mercedes. Might not be as quick as McLaren ever race run, but it's a decent car, and George has been cooling off around the back at his ice bath, and he is ready to go. So, who is it going to be? Do you know what? We have absolutely no idea. That's why we love it. Going into the first qualifying of the year. Back to you, Simon. So right, the drivers just made their way past us into the back of the garage, getting themselves all prepared. As Tech was mentioning, there was a decent third practice session for Max Verstappen, but most have missed by his teammate, Liam Lawson. Power unit issue. Let's go to Rachel. He's with Christian Horner. Good, Christian. Can I just briefly ask, is Liam's car okay? Is it in the right? Yes, it'll be really easy. It puts him, unfortunately, on the back foot because unfortunately, he was the only driver that hadn't driven this circuit previously, so he's going to have a busy Q1. Is he feeling all right? Yeah, he's remarkably chilled. So yeah, he's got a difficult land to deal with, but I'm confident he'll find the pace, and it's just going to build up to it. Right, thank you. As fast as well. Thanks, Christian. Thank you. Yeah, but another one, he's going to have to search for it. The weekend, not his fault, but it's not gone his way. No, he didn't look good yesterday. By his own admission, was too slow, and really needed this session this morning to build his confidence back up, get some laps to the bag. I think they've put it on for a few multiple laps in a row in Q1 just to get his confidence up, maybe. And yeah, I think the challenge for him to get hold of Q1 though. Rachel's without the Norris. Tanda, how you feeling? Yeah, are you ready for this? Put it on winter. I know, but I'm relaxed. I think it's going to be a tight qualifying, so tough stuff on ahead. Everyone told me for them we can put it in a straight start, so it's not fair. Yeah, well, thanks. It's what scruffy train lap, or other scruffy port, or two was it towards the end of Lando's lap, but we've already seen his true pace in that fine lower. Well, we got to see his true pace yesterday, and yes, it's true. End of his lap there, last sector, he had a little bit of traffic, a little bit of turbulent air, and wasn't able to. But apparently, his theoretical was 2/10 quicker than Piastri's quickest time. So I think there's no doubt that he's going to be quick this session. I think the Battle of the Bull is going to be fascinating. Oscar would have ended up probably a 10.5 down, but we've seen in the past, Oscar waits to qualifying to deliver his, he holds something back in practice to then unleash his full potential in qualifying. I'm fascinated to see the battle between the McLaren drivers. And this is, it really is one of these sessions of the year, isn't it? I mean, we've been holding our breath for an entire winter. We're about to get the information that we require. He drove around the car to be Max Verstappen in the second half of last year. He might have to do that in the first half, or they addressed anything, do you think? It feels like overnight they've made a big change to that car that makes it at least Max now, for now, more comfortable in the car. But you're absolutely right, Simon. We have been speculating so much ahead of the season, and this is the moment where the nonsense stops. No more playing games, no more, sandbagging or whatever you want to call it. We're going to sign up exactly what the pecking order is here. This is Leclerc, Conley to see that. Oscar for Paul, what do you think? Where's the smart money? Where's your money? This morning back in the UK, or this afternoon here in Australia. But just if really is anyone respect at the moment, as I mentioned in that final hour of practice, less than the 10th separating the top three. Will that be the case here in Melbourne? We're about to find out. Done. You had qualifying is next. Gentlemen, welcome along. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome along to Saturday afternoon in the park, where it's time for qualifying, and for the 23rd time in the history of the Formula One World Championship, Albert Park, Melbourne has hosted the season opener. It's the first time we've been here at the start of the season since 2019. The track's been slightly modified since then, and it's giving us some very pacey laps indeed. Charles Leclerc with the race lap record pole last year went to Max Verstappen. First lap here to average over 250 kilometers an hour. Top speed of over 210 miles an hour. There are 15 turns, 4 DRS zones, and 3 sets of tires, compounds, that the drivers have to contend with. The C3, very good race tyre. Williams are quite pacey on that as well. C4 is the medium, and C5 is the soft, which we'll be using for qualifying. Here in Melbourne, what a city this is. Vibrant, multicultural city, the sporting capital really of Australia, and this one of the iconic venues in the city, and the fans have been flooding in since the gates opened very early this morning. It's a hot one. We have crowds coming over the track as well, and it's time to stop guessing now if we're at last, because we'll have a pecking order at the end of the qualifying to see just who is the fastest on the track. Yeah, looking forward to it. It's closer than we even did hope. It seems, and as you say, Williams and right in there as well. This is the fourth fastest circuit on the Formula One calendar, behind Monza, Jeddah and Silverstone, which makes it faster than Spa for Red Bull. So it just shows you the speed they carry around. The walls are close. They go across all sorts of white lines and bicycle lanes and what have you, which might be a bigger problem tomorrow in the rain that's expected. So, but this is all about one single lap, minimum fuel, maximum attack, maximum power. Except I think if I was at Haas, I'd put my teenager Ollie there in an hour one out, thanks to 2 and tell him to go and get some laps under his face. It's going to be towards back of the grid anyway, whatever. But let's see what they do with it. But that's for me. I want to get his head settled down and get him some confidence. Just go do him not 1 miles an hour. But that's one car. The other 19 will be going for it, and it's really. It could beat McLaren, isn't it? Yeah, they clearly improved the Red Bull overnight. I don't know if it was a bit susceptible to crosswinds yesterday, but Verstappen looked mighty fast, particularly in the middle sector. And Tonelli, that teenager, did a super job for Mercedes. Pre-season testing and here looked the real deal. Very impressive indeed. What are a few in the field as well that could become the youngest ever pole sitter in F1 if they got a pole today? Kimi Antonelli, Ollie Behrman, Isaac Hadjar, and Gabriel Bortoleto. We've got plenty of rookies. We've got plenty of drivers changing teams. As well, only 2 teams have kept their driver lineup the same as it was in 2024. Carlos Sainz, who won last year's race, is now Williams. Lewis Hamilton is now alongside Charles Leclerc with wonderful photo there. With the backdrop on the code of that, looking straight into the eyes of Charles Leclerc, who has been on pole there, but it's been Max Verstappen for the last 2 years that has gone a faster time than qualifying. But the Ferrari lived on rails yesterday, so the amount of Leclerc lose with a little bit of work to do. Found some better time today. Track temperatures dropped a little bit. It was well over 40 this morning. It's now 38, 47. Maybe that'll bring it back into play for Ferrari. The wind speed's not too high at all, so conditions are good. A little bit of a qualifying cloud, as we like to call it, just cutting out on the side, so it just gives you a little bit of extra grip. Ted, what can you tell us? I can tell you the drivers are as keen as we are to get on with this. Martin, clearly they've been they've had enough testing, they've had enough practice. They want to go into the first competitive session of 2025. Just a few seconds. That line will go green. Right, it does. And we are before qualifying of the first Grand Prix. Ollie Behrman is the second car on track. I think you can see the yellow helmet in his house as the contestant Alton that joins the track first. I have asked the team what they're going to do. I think he's definitely out in soft tyres. So it looks like he is going to go for a quality run, but I think he will look to do some more runs as well. The concern you saw there on Christian Horner's face, we heard from him earlier. Good running for Liam Lawson as well after missing out after that injury issue. And quite the traffic jam getting out there. I think George Russell is more on that. He's going to squeeze his way out. And that's something. Excellent. Thank you, Ted. Yes, Harry in addition for Liam Lawson as he finds his way into the queue. That could tell his running in FV3. Ollie Van crashed out at turn left. He had a crash yesterday at turn 6, and I think she's already done 13 and a half laps so far this weekend. So you have that much chance to see Ollie Van out on track, but you can, if you want to join them on track, do so by riding on board in this qualifying session. We've got all 20 on boards available to you, a lot of the cheap radios. There's your QR code. So scan that, log in with the Sky Sports ID, and if you are watching on Sky Stream, Sky Fuel, Sky Grass, or now, then you can use the Interactive Plus and the audio ribbons. Good charm, and you can maybe get views like that. We'll be bearing out the trailer, and then you choose what to do. That, no, our cup shit, the full. Oh, done. No, that's not okay. Yeah, this is okay now. Yeah, but then I says now, shit for the fun up. So Russell and Antonelli, I believe, out on medium, the compact tires, the other about ones. Pretty much everybody else I see so far on the softest one. Now the soft tires give you more mechanical grip. The compound softer and helped you particularly we drive out of corner with traction with an air axle. But they get a bit out of it towards the end of the lap, and we have seen particularly Williams and Mercedes doing some study at a time. You're not found the hard and normally considerably slower tires. So only Fairman points it to the pit lane, and if you won't have it bad luck this weekend, he'd have no luck whatsoever. His debut for start of the first full season is not exactly going to plan, and that's the biggest understatement of the weekend so far. Jack Doohan's looked quite solid, very forward, and with a man from the Gold Coast, Southern Big Doohan, 5-time World Motorcycle Champion, and very much making a name for himself. He's the world of motorsports who was inspired by a Christmas gift he got for fighting Schumacher when he was about 2 and a bit years old. Ivan gave him a go chart, and the rest is history, and it's brought us to this point. It's down, it's successes, and others do a simple. I won't be surprised if he's a bit very good at the end of this weekend as well, because that is just all taking for love for Ollie Bevan. Valdage the sport general last year, a spectacular start. Bob Kruger and Ron House go for this weekend. Yeah, unfortunately, when you have a trip into the wall like that, you can often have secondary issues. And when the car sort of gets from the bad together here. Title turn now. The Jack Doohan is looked like a reasonably solid lap. Bang it as a back lap, really. Is into the 60s, it's just by 1,000ths of a second. Not too bad at all. Interestingly, though, 3/10 on there. George Russell, hopefully, with the 1/16 dying, goes ahead onto it. Russell maybe needs a couple of laps with those medium tyres to get going as the field burns out. And the tyres warm up, should get better lap times. Carlos Sainz only 5th fastest with his first lap. It was with him. This Fernando Alonso comes to the end of his first flying lap and goes quickest by about 4/10 from Nico Walterbrod. I saw a back called Wick in the crowd today. He said, Crofty, 4,619 days since Fernando's last bowl. He's been keeping track for them. Yeah, I've been advised to do not hand that to Fernando. Yeah, he's not to see, please. It's all to leader. He won't be 16 at all the time about that either. I'm Mexico's he gets pole today, which has looked unlikely, it has to say. I've just looked at how our college spots written last. That then rain is not forecast. But they are, same with dark clouds in the cover over at Centre. Well, and we know how changeable the weather can be here, that we should be all right for a dry hour, shouldn't we? Gasly, Bob, well, this is not usual. I mean, yes, Aston Martin have kind of really not done anything, not shape as we get in terms of threatening supersonic speed, but then also up front at the moment. We're about to get a benchmark now, aren't we? We got Leclerc out there flying as well. Lewis Hamilton going along nicely, as is Lando Norris, who's fastest first sector. We saw tipping up tired to the gravel at turn 6. I did this one down and too much in practice for me. Did exactly the same thing. Charles Leclerc goes quickest by less than 1/10 of a second from Fernando Alonso. Norris continues on his way. 17 soon for the middle section was pretty competitive too. Back to Charles Leclerc in that middle sector. Around the final corner he comes with Williams the Science keeps it nicely out of his way. Norris crosses the line, but half a second between itself and Charles Leclerc. Welcome to qualifying for 2025. Lando Norris, there's a statement. Yeah, it is. But I would say Fernando Alonso's time, they'll be pretty pleased with that, Aston Martin. That's sort of putting in a group of cars he's not really appeared in at any point through the free practice sessions, the three of them so far. If you remember back to Q1 in Austria, 2024, last season, 20th we've ever had since this knockout qualifying was first brought in 2006, only 0.798 of a second, covered all 20 cars. Now, what there's something a bit similar today because it has been very, very competitive this weekend. Piastri, behind his teammates, set them up. It's McLaren 1 and 2. Early stages concerning. Well, a lot of people wearing Prix in this Albert Franc area are hoping. But back Verstappen has just set the fastest first sector and the fastest middle part of the lap as well. And he's been blistering through this middle part of the lap. So they've really tuned that thing up overnight, haven't they? It's a different car today. As I said, there's next crosswinds out there today, whatever it is. I just fire up what's up to the out the side of the car. Get it, understood. Yeah, they certainly tuned it up, and Max, you know, he can drive around problems a little bit, and he's certainly driving around them out there. He splits the McLarens, that's how close it is, and Piastri 0.154 behind Norris. That doesn't sound much, does it, a 10.5, but actually is a lot in Formula One terms to you think, wow, at 14 corners, how hard is it to find 0.15? Very. That's actually at this level. When you do that, do you lose, what, half a tenth? What are you bound to? You're concerned that your left-hand side tyres are a bit grubby. What do you need them down in turn 10? And he will surely have hesitated on the drop. Now, let him puts him slightly out and scrub a bit his feet. So whilst it's not a huge amount of time, it'll help the ball out of. Ollie Behrman, it's still in the garage on Haas. Take a look at that gearbox issue. Isaac Hadja is out on the track on his outlet, as is his teammate Yuki Tsunoda of Racing Bulls. Carlos Sainz is down in the bottom 5 along with Esteban Ocon. Red Method, we lose to Slayers 5 at the end of the first part of qualifying. Next 15 go to King T at the 10. For the fastest after that, go back and for pole. Russell's on a new lap, flying lap. On those medium tyres, we can head down to 10. Yes, having warmed those medium tyres up, Russell's giving it a go. I think Antonelli might have given up on that experiment. He's come into the pits. I think he's given Trey shots. They are trying to fix the gearbox of Ollie Behrman down at Haas. Properly, they haven't given up. They didn't give up on free practice 2 when they tried to get the car fixed yesterday. And they're not going to give up now. They're going to try until the end of the session. Jack Dewar has pops itself in the 6th fastest ahead of Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari after his latest runs. Mercedes obviously hoping they can get through with Russell on medium, and they're the only team that's trying to do that. You say Antonelli Pitts probably on to soft tires, but at least it's safe to set a soft tires. The crowd watches on as George Russell flicks it right to the left, so left to the right through turns 9 and 10. Alex Albon has just set the fastest middle sector out of his latest lap. Russell makes his way now towards the end, the slowest corner of this circuit, turn 13, and then patiently wait to feather that throttle. Tour it now, a dash with your DRS open towards the line to complete the lap, and it's 4th fastest. It's a 1:16.2. Is that going to be enough to send George Russell through and save some soft tyres? Shouldn't it? Especially as we're already, if Damon doesn't get out and do a time to really forward again. Not down in this session, and it'll be every 6 next year in total in the first session. 22 cars on the grid receipt. That piston train connector still has now the helmet is stuck on it. I get and then a bit of wardrobe malfunction there for Max Verstappen. But once again then, Ferrari need to start, and look at that, Alonso's on an absolute stunky that. And once again, Ferrari then need to find something. Yeah, this track is ramping up. And not just with Fernando Alonso, Albon and Hadja, 8th and 9th fastest currently. As Leclerc crosses the line and puts himself 3rd fastest. Alonso 5th fastest. Pushed quite hard in the first 2 sectors and was hanging on for dear life in the final bit, but puts himself in that top five. That might well be enough yet. Lance Stroll presses away, and his Aston Martin is into the top 9. So it's Norris, Verstappen, Leclerc separated by 26 thousandths of a second. Hamilton then down in 12th at the moment, but he's on 2 personal bests out there that should put that right. But he's not done a fastest sector anywhere so far. Yeah. So Lewis Hamilton goes 7th fastest with this latest flying lap. Alonso in the top 5. Not an approval, I think, from Mr. Cal, the new team principal, and that Aston Martin did the Renatos. The man was good, the turn was full of bear of it. They should go, I like it. There's a fair bit of gravel being kicked up around this track. Whatever we had that yellow for, the stuff running wide, they carried on, and we're now clear again, and we're in green conditions. Just the last thing you're on. If you're down near the bottom 5 at this moment in time, it's for yellow flags to disrupt you. Let's see what it was. Liam Lawson into turn 3, lock up, going wide into the gravel. Your service right safety there. Love you a little bit of tarmac. But comfy on the rating's in on the way to turn 3. He got it very deep there. And that lives for another day. Yeah, he's having trouble there, Lawson there. He's in that bottom 5, only 17th fastest at the moment. Well, his cheap mate is up into the top 2. So he's going to have to come in, change a set of tyres. And Rosalie could give a little more flying lap in, and it sticks. Kimi Antonelli, meanwhile, formed on the same day, wasn't it, Sebastian Vettel made his weekend appearance at F1 Grand Prix in Turkey in 2006. Antonelli rounds the final corner. How is it towards the line? Where's Mercedes going to end up? And this little CE Masters. It's very low, that car. Very low indeed. Sometimes see a little light from underneath the front bed, we call it, on the floor. There's a right eye sensor. But generally, the car was dragging its rear end, shall we call it, down the racetrack. Let's just see where he might have lost a bit of time. Yeah, see, in worldwide there, wasn't he? Before he got to the gravel, he was heading that way, and the entry wasn't particularly he was looking for. So he's got to gain. See how low what car is. That doesn't look right to me. That's very, very low indeed. Ted. Yeah, the front of the car looked like it was sort of burning white hot, didn't it, Martin? I thought that visually it was one of the lasers, so you got to wait down at the track to sort of measure front slip angle, but I knew it was just burning motors and sitting me on them there. Anyway, so work continues on Behrman's gearbox, although not particularly quickly. Back at the cut-off time, we're getting out of this session. Just to tell you, to a new to F1, you've been following us what these cut-off signs are. All the engineers get together, do some calculations, put that figure in the air, see which way the wind is going, and then guess at a time that is going to see you safely into Q2. And that today, ladies and gentlemen, is a 116.5. There you go. So not strong, safe on a 16.8, some about 16.6, widely safe. Charles doing Antonelli, not safe at the moment, but George Russell probably just about safe on a 16.2. Silly spot along to the back of Antonelli's car. Yeah, there should be wrong there. The rear right height either incorrectly set or something's broken and dropped. Because, and I think Ted might well be right. I think it's just a leaf firework at the front of the edge. It's actually just burning. That's not a right height. A trail was leaving out of here for the time. That's a major issue. Something's dropped. Something's wrong on that. Now and that's not an easy fix, especially with 3.5 minutes to go. Yeah, with WAP 16.5 as the cutoff time. Give it plus or minus a tenth of a second. Lewis Hamilton's going to have to come out again. Currently 7th fastest. Years he got another set of tyres that he really wouldn't want to be doing at the moment. Yeah, and the other, yes, indeed. The end from Antonelli's, they're now in power firm condition. Not allowed to adjust the suspension setup. See, that's a major issue there for that. What's the betting? The Kimi Antonelli, by the way, hasn't gone over a curve, but that's just loves something. Yeah, the whole car looked over them, didn't it? Or got over a curve and broken something goes back, or let's see. Lewis Hamilton, who has used just the 1 set of tyres so far, did 2 runs on the same set of tyres and putting himself on there. I mean, he did a little bit of pressure there, but he's got 8 poles here. in Melbourne before, so he could definitely handle pressure around this track. Carlos Sainz goes above him, 116.3 in the Williams. Out comes Hamilton. I was just talking about it, and out it comes. That's Carlos Sainz's father. Ready? Well, she has been. The Prix have been asked for some excellent fault so far this weekend. On board with Liam Lawson. Yeah, those drivers that are Alonso's just coming out of pits now. Not got an awful lot of time to get around. Hulkenberg, T. Here we go. We're looking for a little tiny. Oh, we were. There was tiny curve there. This is better for Graham Leonis. So it was a long time up to throttle there. The back end trying to step out on it. Drew the exit at 10. Go to traffic. But, yeah, it's just lacking grip. It's lacking confidence in the rear of the car, I think. You know, and then when we got to lock up, now they're going to go wide. Now we're going to hit the grass. And that, I fear, is that's it. That's it from Liam Lawson, the start on the back. Well, it was looking better for the first lap, but plot and a half, shall we say, of this lap. But once it started going wrong, it went very wrong. And even Max Verstappen saying, go back to my tyres. Oh, not holding on. I'm telling you, the tyres have just held on. Soft tyre run for George Russell. Just gone second fastest with the best middle sector so far. It's Norris, Russell, Verstappen, Leclerc, Piastri. The top five as we head to the last minute. And look down on the Yuki Tsunoda around the final quarter. Here at Albert Park, he needs to put a bit of distance between himself at the top, the bottom five, and go sixth fastest. That'll do nicely for Yuki Tsunoda. So with a 1:16 soon safely in that safety zone, shall we say. Kimi Antonelli, that looks a lot better to have a straight this time around. And only goes 10th fastest. It's a 1:16.5. He is right on the cut-off zone here as Gasly goes ahead of him. An inch 8th fastest. Next across the line will be Nico Hulkenberg trying to get out of the bottom five and starting his final lap. So he's left it late to do that. Isaac Hadjar crosses the line, goes 9th fastest. That's decent. And Lewis Hamilton being pushed ever nearer to that bottom five on his Ferrari debut. Here comes the Sauber of Gabriel Bortoleto starting a new lap. And Jack Doohan goes 8th fastest. He is obviously quite happy with that one. That's super job. Jack Doohan did a cracking job out there. There's the two Williams boys chucking it through the final corner. Red lights are on as we enter the session, but you can, of course, complete the lap, which he has done, goes 7th fastest. Esteban Ocon completed his lap just before that. Mark it out of the bottom five as Stroll goes snatching past him. Yet Stroll was then pushed out ever nearer to that bottom five. And Kimi Antonelli, who is also looking at not in great shape, down towards the lower reaches. First off, we'll concentrate on Lewis Hamilton. 8-time poster that doesn't want to get knocked out in Q1 for his first go of qualifying the Ferrari, and that'll do nicely. 6th fastest, he'll be able to Q2. So Bevan not getting out. Ocon is out. Wilson is out. Hulkenberg and Bortoleto are the two that we're watching now. And here is the Sauber of Gabriel Bortoleto. He is the current reigning F2 champion. The year before that, it was F3 champion. Charles Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, George Russell did exactly the same thing. His pedigree is high, at this lap gets him out of the bottom five at the expense of Kimi Antonelli. That's a super lap. And Nico Hulkenberg has crossed the line, and Bortoleto, on his first go of qualifying in F1, has out-qualified the man for Haas last year, was in the top 10 on the left side, and if I wish from lost, and then next to think, I just didn't answer. There's two front runners. We did not expect to lose in the first part of qualifying. Kimi Antonelli from Mercedes, Liam Lawson for Red Bull. See the job from Morton left zone there. I think he's the star of the future, that one. And they've struggled to absolutely shine, I think, in that car this year. But, there was a lot of changing. Racing Bulls did a good job, as we thought it was. The car looked great when I was on track there yesterday, the Racing Bulls. But Jack Doohan ahead of Pierre Gasly under a lot of pressure. Well done, Jack. Yep, fastest rookie in that session. Ollie Behrman didn't going to go. His gearbox gave up on him. Esteban Ocon, his Haas teammate, also now Liam Lawson for Red Bull out in qualifying. Nico Hulkenberg for Sauber. And Kimi Antonelli getting through by what, 9/1000ths of a second of Antonelli's expense. Gabriel Bortoleto, who was coming in for a bit of criticism from Dr. Helmut Marko, the head of the Red Bull Driver Development Program, said he was a B-grade driver. Well, Lawson going out, Bortoleto going through, probably what the doctor did order for this morning here at Albert Park. Actually, as you walk past the sky pad here, it's down into turn one, so that's got it. It's trying to turn quite aggressively the wheel. It can't do respond. So at that point, you know, it looks like he's got a limited confidence starting to go for the lap. Come down to turn three. He's had that lockup we've seen earlier on there already. Look, a snap of oversteer there, but that's not too bad. And then as the lap starts to unfold, it just looks like it hasn't got the grip to go with it. So let's get down to turn six. I'll slow it down here as we get down to the right header. Understeer the way in, gets the nose in, then it bites. A little bit wide there, but it's not too bad as well. So Liam was just saying to me, the first half of that actually felt pretty good. He thought, okay, he could get there. But as we're about to find out, as the lap unfolded, it just wasn't with him. Let's get to 9 and 10. This is where it starts to go away from him. So he gets to 9, okay, a little bit of correction. And then watch there, has to correct the wheel. And he's now there at that point, slightly wider than he would like. That puts him off wide on the curve there. So he's had a compromised run for the right hander of a turn 10. Let's get under braking through there. Again, a correction. Again, micro corrections out wide on the exit curve. Turning into the right hander here, but this is where finally he gets what's the front left there. Lock up, under rotation, completely misses off the apex there, and he's off into the gravel, into the grass there. So yeah, really unfortunate for him. I believe we got, so that was a hiccup alert. We got Liam Lawson is now actually going into the pen, talking to Rachel. Okay, recharge on, play. It's how difficult this again for you up to this point. Just talk me through that qualifying session and how you felt things were. I know you've had a massive lack of running here so far this weekend. Yeah, it's we expected the start of Quali to be tough. So Yeah, to be honest, the two stats were expected to be off, and then we were just banging on Delhi into decision that obviously going on that second lap sort of put everything out of order a bit, and then the last lap was good, honestly. I just excelled the last sector, where it sent a big drop. So, yeah, obviously missing P3 obviously doesn't help any of this, but he should be young off Quali. So, yeah, when I like it running, you haven't raced around this circuit before, so count yourself in a bit of track on that front. But in terms of that run today, where were you at before you had the issues in final sector? I think we were big quarter 6, quarter 9, we were about half second up. So, yeah, and then obviously we were skipping Prix, but I already had a snap through with 90C, and my big tires were really starting to drop down. So that's something we've just been battling this weekend, yeah, obviously something that we missed sort of practicing in P3. Do you feel better on high fuel? Are you more confident for the race, the adjustment tomorrow? I haven't really done much high fuel running, so I think we feel like we need to stick with the car today regardless of this. Obviously Max is in a good position, so we definitely made a step. And obviously the weather tomorrow is variable, so let's see. All right, thank you. Yeah, it might be trying for a little bit of rain in the car. It was knocked out in Q1 6 times last year, and it was knocked out itself at Q1 6 times last year with RB. Not the start that we have also wanted. Max Verstappen continues on in his different season, the same old for Red Bull. You can hear the Mexican fans now, Quali, almost from here. On that one, big third. Right, let's concentrate up to now. And this is Max Verstappen, house on the track. Along with it, Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris, George Russell, Oscar Piastri, Lewis Hamilton, Alex Albon, Fernando Alonso, and Carlos Sainz were each cute. So Max Verstappen is giving it everything to reach head 5 and 6. He's massively quick through that section of the track, already brave with the car, and that improved it dramatically since yesterday. Just line him loose as this gets you to the cycle lane now. And now it gets a tiny little curb on the left-hand side, trying not to hit their board on the right on the way in. Oh, and he had to do a correction in the middle there. That's not the best we've seen of Max through that door of the Red Bull. And that means you just hesitate when you lose speed all the way down the next straight. It is a little bit of confidence, as you know, the back end of the car is coming unstuck a bit, but he's still en route at half-tidy lap time. And on if that's an indication there, what he was saying at the end of Q1, my tyres are not holding on for the whole of the lap. He just didn't get the grit that he wanted. By the way, it's a 1:56 from Max Verstappen, and he's about 4 tenths faster than his best time in the first part of qualifying. Next across the line will be Charles Leclerc. It's a 1:15.8, so the eye is the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. Yeah, and there's at least a quarter of a second left in Verstappen. Yeah, that's enormous lap time if they can't beat it, because Max had a few adventures on that lap. Lewis Hamilton last year was knocked out in Q2 at Melbourne for the first time since 2010. At that time of a 1:16.0, albeit 2 tenths up on his best time of Q1. I dare say he's not going to be enough to get through to the final part of qualifying of this year. He's going to have to go some, because the likes of Oscar Piastri and George Russell are queuing up behind him and improving all the while. Piastri, 26 wall to the first sector, blistering starts to his latest flying lap. We're at the end of George Russell's flying lap. The man, of course, who was on the front row in 2023, goes into second place in 2025, just a tenth of a second off Max Verstappen. Carlos Sainz will be next across the line, goes fifth fastest behind Lewis by 4 tenths of a second. Alex Albon now crosses the line, and he goes into the top 4, 3 tenths off the pace. And ahead of Hamilton and Sainz. So Albon, those two are just going to drive each other on all the air, aren't they? Sainz and Albon, yeah. Towards Paz local hero Oscar Piastri got to offer. He's got a 15 at 4.68 and fastest overing, but they need to keep an eye on their rear mirrors for Verstappen on a cleaner lap. And Lando Norris, who is separated from his teammate by 88 1,000ths of a second. If Verstappen's lap was ominous, the local heroes, local fans will tell you Piastri's lap was obvious. They knew he was going to come out on top. Fernando Alonso was just fitted at the ends of what was shaping up to be a decent lap. He was on the used tyres. Not quite sure why. He just got across the line there, to be honest. But I'm sure he's got his reasons. Last Stroll, you saw on these tyres, there goes ninth, fastest of the points on Stu we've had so far. So early skirmishes. It's McLaren 1 and 2, Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari. Much is getting closer to his teammates. 6/10 off in FP1, 4/10 off in FP2, just under 2/10 off in FP3, and about 0.6 of a second faster than that in Q1. Maybe why Alonso pissed. Oh yeah, I think that's why he pissed in Bartik. It's going on to that. Yeah, I would have a look at that. Yeah, you always guaranteed to damage the underneath. Oh dear, I did. And then that's impossible to repair during qualifying. So we are allowed to repair genuine damage. You can demonstrate before the race tomorrow, but you do not want to be out there. So 10 left hand side, correct? Yeah. That it lifts the front wheel off the ground. Now watch his right front to our left there, and we lifted it off the ground. There's not only the droop, the suspension traveled on these, but so what have we got? We got five different teams in the top 6 at the moment. Show you just how competitive it is. And Ted continues on Lewis Hamilton. Yes, they're still figuring out how to work best with his team. He's asking his engineer Riccardo Adami for sector times and where he's losing the lap time. The answer is turn 1 at the moment. Most of the loss to Leclerc is turn 1. So that's something for Hamilton to work on. Just quick one on Antonelli. Confirmation from Mercedes that Antonelli broke the bib. That's the front of the floor on a curb, and he was losing 0.3 of a second to George Russell on every straight, of which there are quite a few around here. So that puts Antonelli's G1 exits across the through some concept. There's dragging, and that was very much a dragging pre-box or agging the Alpine chart around this Albert Park circuit. Here comes Jack to the latest lap from him, not enough for the top 10. He's on the fringes of it, behind Isaac Adger, who continues to impress. It's the other rookie in the Racing Bull. Gabriel Bortolesso is not Sauber in the kids. He's the slowest of the times you've had so far in his first run of death. So he's on a set of used tyres. Meanwhile, Yuki Tsunoda will be next to Prost, the line best qualifying year of 8th last season on the grid. Pretty centered in that race, and they are 6th fastest for Yuki Tsunoda. They're not DLBs, the Racing Bulls. Just look at that's pretty handy around it. Yeah, and in the high-speed corners when I was out there yesterday, and they're really stable. You can see the drivers felt confident as in a hassling through the quick stuff as doing loses that to 1 of 16.995, so therefore doesn't have a time on the board. So the bottom 5, Jack Dewett and Fernando Alonso, Gabriel Bortolesso, Lance Stroll, and then the Isaac Adger. And be checking Fernando Alonso's car. They'll be checking the Williams and Carlos Sainz as well. Both Williams drivers saying that there's a higher temperature. That could be too hot, or not getting them up to temperature. You do want to have the confidence of turning it upside down, knowing that you've got that grip. The crane looked like he had it there. Fresh soft tyres in it. Yep, those is another are on the fresh tyres because Hamilton is just a few hundred meters up the track. It's always a bit risky. You send those out like that because if the first driver has a problem that is the other flag, you lose too. But at this level, you don't consider that. That is just get up there, but I think there was other people's scrabble rather than him running wide. So Charles Leclerc is in a personal best first sector, matched by Lewis Hamilton. The middle sector is just 17 seconds on. Okay for Leclerc. Let's see, Hamilton will be alone shortly. So they're getting on with it. I think this will end. It's a second and personal best to the 10th slower to Lewis Hamilton. He's lost out to Leclerc through turn 6. All 3 the practice sessions, but they're even Stevens on the rest of that. Yeah, there's not much to separate them, but Ferrari very much in touch with the pace setters on the tracks, Piastri and Sid Norris, as Charles Leclerc makes his way around the final corner. Get as close as you dare to the wall, but give yourself a bit of breathing space, because that could be a nasty accident. They lost so much time in that final sector. Only 5th fastest for Charles Leclerc. Did he push too hard, too soon? Did Lewis Hamilton do the same thing? These are only 6th fastest. The Ferrari in that final sector, just, it's not hooked up. When you look at the time share, 80 new air tyres. The alarm bells should be going off now for Ferrari because there's a lot of faster cars around them. and they're really just ahead of Tsunoda, Albon, and Co, and Gasly for that matter. So they're not challenging the front row at the moment, and they cannot keep the rear tyres at the any time all the way through the 40 volleys. What looked like a pretty speedy car and had service back Charlotte where an FP2 is steadily dropped away from that assumption as Saturday has gone on. 4.5 minutes to go. Yeah, in Albert Park, Zach Brown, it's looking pretty decent for you and your McLaren seat so far. So far, so good. Let's finish this session and now see if we can repeat this in Q3. What are the drivers' free details of handling of it? Like the top six efficient? I don't care. Yeah, they're happy. So I think they're just refining their laps here a little bit. Those are 2 really good laps. Oscars who spent that, as is Landos. So yeah, I think everything's under control so far. Your two drivers must smell a World Championship opportunity this year. They'll be desperate when they, especially my range, to out-qualify each other. And they must be focused on each other, your two drivers. Yeah, they're not saying as such, but I have a sneaky suspicion when they look at the timing screen, they look to see where their teammate is, that's for sure. I'm sure they do. Zach, thanks for joining us. We'll come back to you if we can during Q3. It's about to get Larry once again out on the track, and they're all steadily making their way out. Lewis Hamilton is fourth ready on the circuit, and I think doing another warm-up lap. I'm assuming that he came into the pitch and changed tires after his last flying run. We didn't see him coming to the pits, but he's going slowly down the main straight there, and he's freely into where all the other cars are trying to come out. And they've got enough time to get out and get a lap completed. They sound like a bag of spanners when they're tipping you over, don't they? It's that awful. And especially when they're almost render limited coming down the pit lane. That crisp as when they're up there at the 50,000 revs. We used to traffic jams around Albert Park, and it's the most expensive one of the weekends. In the pit lane was Lando Norris trying to find a way through, Ted. Yeah, but Charles Leclerc has come into the pits, and rather than dive right into his garage, he's just joined the queue. So it looks like Hamilton has stayed out, yay, on that old Gazelle tyres. Leclerc is cooling off his tyres. It's going back again, as the McLaren has to be wheeled back, because it's otherwise going to take the front wing off. It looks like Leclerc is going to come out on the same set of soft tyres. These soft tyres, by the way, Leclerc reported back on the radio, my front left is completely gone. Well, and there's a bit like that, because he's going to have another cut. I think if he doesn't go straight on, Teddy, he'll not make it around the start final attempt anyway. We're running out of time. So they've already got the chronology rolled out, haven't they, at Ferrari. They cooled out by the queue. Now, in practice, Ferrari were getting better times on their second runs, quite run on a set of the soft compound tyres. But to do that in qualifying is asking quite a lot for both drivers. The reason Hamilton stayed out was because he didn't want to get stuck in the back of the queue like his teammate did. Now, this focus on Gagler will turn that kind of a bit nasty, it's safe. Absolutely. And onto the same one as his dwarf backs in the World Cup. That was phenomenal for Gabriel Bortoleto, who could have been heading through a wall, but that has absolutely ruined his lap. Yeah, he's heading to becoming a spectator now, isn't he, for the second, or the final part of qualifying, I should say. At least it's not in the wall. Yeah, and I think that should be the relief from the selections of those down in the Sauber garage. Happening Maple Syrup Day at Cabinet team. As we watch Lance Stroll trying to get himself out of a sticky situation. He's down at 12th place currently. Jack Doohan also on the track looking for his progress. But here comes Stroll then towards the end of this latest flying lap. What are his sector times look like? Down by 3/10 in the first sector. Down by 10 in the second sector. Based on who's going the fastest, George Russell is just at the fastest middle sector on his latest flying lap. And DRS has been disabled because someone has gone off on the middle part of the map. And it's Lewis Hamilton that has stopped instead as well. Stroll doesn't make his way out of the bottom 5. Jack Doohan can carry him. He's past the scene, and that is Lewis Hamilton in the middle of the track. Not where he wants to be. 6th fastest, and now just a tad vulnerable. Yeah, Doohan's had to navigate an awful lot of sledded traffic as that compromised him as he goes over the line. And Doohan 13, he won't go through to the top 10 shooter, but still a good effort. So there will have been yellow flags. A lot of people will have had their lap times compromised by Lewis Hamilton's spin. Piastri goes through. He is the fastest driver in this session. Verstappen, just starting his last flying lap, has gone quickest through the first sector. Isaac Hadger trying to get out of the bottom 5, hasn't made it by just under 6/100ths of a second. Watch to the relief, I'm sure, of Carlos Sainz, who crosses the line, and then Prix to go 7th fastest out of Salona. And this man is teammate Alex Albon, who stays 9th fastest. Gasly is on the cusp. I'm just trying to see who might be able to challenge it. Fernando Alonso is the only one that might have that challenge. He's down that bottom 5, but here comes Max Verstappen. Hit wide through the penultimate corner. 2 personal bests, so 2 fastest of anybody so far. Verstappen goes over the line and stays with that scruffy end in up. So yeah, if you push too hard too soon, your tyres aren't there for you at the end. As Lando Norris goes quickest in the second part of qualifying. Fernando Alonso only makes it 12th fastest. Lewis Hamilton had his spin, but he will make it through, as will Pierre Gasly in 10th for Alpine. That's a strong qualifying for him. Wow, what a breathless ends. And whilst Ferrari have got problems, they at least have 2 cars into the second part. Yeah, they're going to go. They go again. Vince, you noted every day, doing a fine job, saying, idiots crush him, and they go. He should be in the Red Bull. Maybe you're better off where he is. Whoops, they're still on the way in. And you've got a massive engine effect when your engine and gearbox starts overtaking you. There is no way back. That, remember, on a set of tyres that have already done 1 flying lap, and he backed off for a couple to cool them down, and they were just overheating at the end of the lap. Some look at Gabriel Bortoletto and his experience through turn 4. He was heading to the car park. Yeah, he got it. The car started to plunge before he hit the curb. So he arrived at the curb, slightly unstable, and then the finished hell for him back. And he so you're watching it off, so you have a counter steering. And that's cost him dear. He's out, along with Jack Doohan, Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso, Isaac Hadger, top of the key in that qualifying, missed out by less than 6/100ths of a second. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, though, saw McLaren first and second fastest. They look like the team to beat, but it is old Sun Post at the top. Any slight error should cost you dear. The chase for pole to come. welcome back to Albert, first qualifying session of the season. Ferrari have problems. It did see Charles grass coming with data. Out on track, this was one of the many moments that weren't going quite as smooth as he would have wanted. He's been noted by race control for a possible impeding inside. He has, George Russell has. George trundling away. Mr. Brungle, is he trundling at the wrong car on the track? Like, he certainly wasn't being helpful, but I don't think it's more the Ferrari getting a little bit leery in there, but certainly George wasn't helping along. And what didn't help Lewis Hamilton was a spin on his final flying lap. Jared Chandler, so Sky Padded. Thank you, Kofi. Yeah, let's have a look at this here. This was Hamilton running down towards the turn 11. And I'll just slow it down because he goes in okay and then gets to the apex line. And in the back of the car, it's just not with him. You're slightly wide of the apex. And then the rear of the car just went away. You mentioned in commentary they had tyres that had done multiple laps at that stage. And Ferrari had been struggling earlier in the session with the rear tyre grip in the final sector, just cooking the rear tyres. They were good in sectors 1 and 2, and they didn't have the grip in the final sector. Now, really unfortunate for Jack Dillon because that spin for Lewis Hamilton came at the wrong time for him. He had done a good first and second sector. And in fact, that's the member user. Ended Casby. But there's the yellow flag. Unfortunately for him, he gets to that corner. There's Lewis in the middle of the track, so he's had to abandon his lap, basically. He pushes on, but then he's got traffic in front, and the whole thing just goes away from Jack in the final part of the lap. So really unfortunate for him. He's done a very, very good job so far in qualifying. Yes, that didn't work out for him. Just, I believe we can hear from Kimi Antonelli a little bit now. Our whistle. His exit garage has been bumped. Can you just tell us the thinking behind going out on the medium tyre first of all in Q1? I think was something we agreed with the team, and with the old, the medium tyre, maybe even medium tyre, lap 1 maybe would have not been optimal, but lap 2 normally the tyre improved, but we decided to change flat at the very end and go straight and soft. But I think, yeah, the ED6, that blood of gravel that was on the curb really broke my car because the drawer was just a big damage afterwards, and it was kind of hanging. I could feel, the car bumped me massively in the straight, and yeah, it's a shame because without the damage, probably would have been a different qualified. Would it be done from that session then to the IBG side to take into next senior boat, right? Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not ideal because you're getting how we did in FPT. Definitely, we put up today for a better result, but it's what it is, and now we move on. And we will feel to what we really did on. Keeping that absolutely Q1 after that, seeing what damage his teammate George Russell is 3 to Q3, and no further investigation on that impeding investigation of the stewards. And this is what the teenagers and the rookies are learning. You can't make mistakes because there are always ramifications. You stick it in the walls, then you might have a drive shaft or a gearbox issue later on. We run wide, you damage the floor, and that's all the things. Unfortunately, you have to learn the hard way, as we see with him and Antonelli. So we have Q3 then, and the race for pole. Since 2005 here in Australia, have both Williams reached Q3. Both Webber and Nick Heidfeld that day. They put 2 Williams in Q3 today. But Webber is now Oscar Piastri's manager. Can Oscar Piastri get pole today after 6 front row starts in his career so far? Hasn't done a pole yet. Zach Brown's the CEO at McLaren. Max Verstappen is a threat. Hopefully he's got forgettable of like Lando against Oscar for the top stop today, Zach. I think Max is a big threat. So is Russell at home, Pride, Quali, it player be June, so in South Rule or who is out. So I think we got 6 cars shit report here, but I feel good. You send your cars out very early, Zach, presumably to try and stay out of anybody else's yellow flags, gravel and carnage. Yeah, absolutely. And just try to get a banger in here early with that 2 sets of new socks. So we want to make sure we optimize both. Right, we'll let you watch for that. For a full with Oscar Piastri as who is going for his first ever pole in Formula One at his home track in his hometown. How's it been so far, Buzz? Sorry, I was just looking at something else. Dropped in. Yeah, sorry. Here we go. Into turn 6. Nice. Using all the track available. That's your job as a racing driver, to minimize the angle of the corners and to actually make the track as short as you can get away with without getting a penalty, and carry speed through those apexes. 9 and 10. Neat and tidy again, left a sensible margin there to get a little tiny bit of slipstream and get the DRS closed. I was putting the throttle to the hard, using all the racetrack available, where will give you an advantage. Car still looking nice and hooked up towards the end of the lap. Just tried to keep it tight. He hasn't done so. It's cost him. He'll slow down through the final quarter as well. So we had a little going on. Just got a bit too greedy on the brakes into the penultimate corner, and that cost Piastri from didn't own that basically. Well, 16-1 there. Well out for his best time in Q2. Lando Norris does same provisional pole with 1:15.9. Charles Leclerc will be next to cross the line. Ferrari, and Leclerc goes to the top of the timing. More than 15.7 for Charles Leclerc as well. Then Norris gets his lap timer deleted. Ferrari, from the midst of mediocrity, and now right up on the provisional front row with George Russell going ahead of Charles Leclerc and saving his best lap to this moment as in his Hamilton on used tyres goes 4 fastest. Well, we heard from Zach they wanted to get Banker at me, didn't I? Then driver did. One went wide and the other had it deleted. And this man, could you serve a lot? It does. Max Verstappen on pole for the last 10 years here at Albert Park has just put his Red Bull up the provisional pole by a couple of hundredths of a second. As you say, Leclerc right in there as well. So this puts pressure on the 2 McLaren drivers now. So they've got to get it done. Got to get out. They've got to spot every braking point, every turning point. Keep the throttle up. Absolutely at the right moment. Keep their tyres intact. And they haven't got that banker lap in. But that's what they get paid the money to do. Right, where to start discussing all of that? Let's go with Oscar Piastri and where it went wrong first for Lando Norris and where it went wrong for him. That's why he had his lap time deleted. Bring for him to do 6 similar anglist. So fast, set up a check space. Yeah, we will do. Actually, with that, searching with that all weekend long. As Lando Norris. This is his teammate, Oscar Piastri. We saw this just going too deep. Yeah, he just trying to carry too much speed in there, and the front axle wasn't out there. And he was probably still just dragging the brake pedal as he turned in. And the front went across the road, runs you wide, and it's a horrible feeling in there. You kind of, whatever you do that with the pedals, well, the steering wheel, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You're running wide. Really handy try from Alex Albon, 5th fastest on a set of used tyres. Pierre Gasly also had used tyres up, as did Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton. Lando Norris, no time on the board. Sainz, 9th fastest. Gasly behind Hamilton, behind Tsunoda, behind Albon. And then the top 4, well, Alex Albon is right in contention with Oscar Piastri, given that Piastri lost a bit of time. But there is so tight. Less than 1/10 of a second between the top 3. 10 down to you. Certainly is. You know, if you're McLaren, if you're Oscar or Lando, you make a mistake, who's going to be there to punish you? Max Verstappen. But actually, he was slower. I don't know if this is a wide moment. Graffiti with it else top the line. But he was a 10th slower, Verstappen, in that run than he was at the end of Q2. It was a 15.6 just gone now, and he hit 15.5 in Q2. Yeah, well, the track temperature's changing all the time. That can have a bearing. The clouds are coming over. That should not be helping, Ted. Just be right. The English swimmer, Charles Leclerc, made an improvement on his best time in Q2, as did George Russell. So that, just looking to see who else made the improvement. That's pretty much it. Trent getting a little bit slower out there as we get towards the checkered flag to end this qualifying session. We have that little model valve where the drivers will study the data on the streets in front of them, and the mechanics of the garage will make a few running repairs. Out comes the gap and say to Lando Norris's floor, just to try and repair a little bit of damage that might have been caused by him running over the gravel again. Unwise for them, though, just to be a couple of inches further to the right. He has been flirting with that gravel trunk all the way through. This is where it's Hamilton on his run. Down the turn 11 where he had that spin. They huge cylinders going a little bit wide there, Martin. Yeah, these tires in his second hand now. They've had a decent runs. The EVs were wonderfully set that now, but again, taking a lot of speed in, and the tire just wouldn't tolerate it. So Max Verstappen then doesn't have a pole since Austria last season. Has provisional pole currently. That is not to say Max Verstappen did not win qualifying at Spa and in Qatar. He did. He was fastest in Q3. He had grid penalties. He didn't start on pole. But hold on to it, or it might get taken away from him by George Russell or Charles Leclerc. Three different constructors in the top three. Thought of them just struck into the top four, but McLaren, the favourite going into qualifying with a lot to do here, has outcome the cars as Charles Leclerc digs in to the QN, Lewis Hamilton, and then the Williams. I think of Alex Albon there just politely. They could ask for Ferrari to off your bid because they let Leclerc in first, and then he compromised Hamilton to get it in the queue at all. And then you got at the back. Sage with outfit is, it's proved to be enough time for the back to get out, but as you can tell, if it's 75 seconds for a hot lap, well, you don't want to scorch the tyres up on this out lap. You would coast along like this, and you want time to prepare. Even a giant track in front of you. And once again, McLaren have gone early, but this time, the drivers got to deliver. So, take us into the mind of Lando Norris here. You've got a car that could do it, but you can't afford to make any mistakes. I think at this level they park that, but subconsciously he'll be sitting there because you don't tighten up in the car. You need to give it absolutely everything, wring its neck, that you know that if you make a mistake, you don't have anything else on the board. We think Leclerc's gone out on used tyres. I think he hadn't ran out of tyres. And certain that fat is although 15 said he's not too shabby with his put in to date. So at this level, you've just fought the pressure and get out and to then do the pattern. And finally, making his way, as we enter the pit lane, out onto the track is Yuki Tsunoda. So we've got all 10 cars out of the track as Oscar Piastri begins his final flying lap. Take us through this, Martin. There, there's been a bit of traffic here, but they should get it out of the way and ride and drive into that first chicane. Not as good, didn't run wide at all. Try and nick a bit of slipstream from that car. This car, the Vitara, good on these punts, so he can take a nice wide line through. And this opens up turn 4 for him. Car still trying to complain a bit, absolutely flat out through there. But he's underneath the canopy of trees. And the unsighted turn 6, he must not run wide. He did not run wide. This is just easy flat out now. Just trying to turn the steering wheel as little as you can get away with to not scrap any speed. And now this is the big money corner. This is where they have to get it absolutely right on the way in. Getting a direction change well, left his place on the outside, possibly a touch cautious, but no drama at all. And Piastri obviously has got some rear tyres to the end of the track. Okay, now they're very kingly. This is looking nice, very nice indeed. Traffic getting out of his way. This time he's kept it in place. Now he's got to absolutely mash the troll through the final quarter, allowing the run to the line. What is it going to yield for him? The Astri fastest by his own way. Half a second for the rest to try and make up. Even ahead of all, as you can see the celebrations. But it's whether Norris going to deny him. Norris crosses line, and he trades pay. The lesser attempt on a second. He's McLaren here. Charles, don't count out, but extra straight up George Russell, because they're both within touching distance. Special pressures behind it. So pushes Max Verstappen out of third. Here comes the motors from cold. For the last 2 years at over 5. Verstappen pushes it, no puddles in the shape for him. He's on the second round with a Mercedes of George Russell. It is Lando Norris starting this campaign. Believe that he's finished the mouse campaign by taking pole position. somebody can do something about it. That somebody quickly, Lewis Hamilton. These been on pole lane drive chair before. They're running off the dirt. He certainly can it out of the park, and he crosses the line to go 6th fastest over behind his teammate Charles Leclerc, who pitched from 5th place. Now, in the couple of Williams. Carlos Sainz, last year's winner, 8th fastest, really good effort for Williams in this qualifying. The Canal Ball goes a little bit quicker. His new teammate, yes, he can, and he goes faster than the two Ferraris of Leclerc and Hamilton. Standings and Alex Albon and the Williams qualifying Ferrari had written on the back for base-wise. All three. Nice job from Gasly as well. Sinoga can finish to that and go Steph. That's sensational for Yuki Tsunoda. I don't know why we weren't watching that, because his timing for the first and second sector put him right on the cusp of that top 5 appearance. And that is Yuki Tsunoda's best ever qualifying in Albon Park. It's Lando Norris's best ever qualifying. McLaren, the pre-season favourites, the pre-season pace setters, have got back the first season king. Oh, that is bold. Unbelievable car. Amazing work. Oh, it's thank you so much. It's been a perfect. Yeah, impressive from Norris and Piastri. Was under so much pressure to let the car go, and they did. And mighty fast. A good quarter of a second ahead of Verstappen. It's been on form all day. George Russell too. Tsunoda, what a statement from him. Oh, worst blood in the fight between Norris and Piastri. First blood to Norris, but by 88 1,000ths of a second, so little between them. Oscar Piastri, you said it once as you were taking us through that, touch too cautious through, you'd think 9 and 10. Maybe that's where Lando made up at time, but there was so little to separate. There also shouldn't feel down in any way, shape or form. It's a 7th front row in his Formula 1 career, not waiting for pole. Still happens. And Max Verstappen will be thinking, it's raining. I could mention 17s. I could certainly do it from 3rd on the grid. That ain't